Hello and welcome back to Tips and Time Savers. I'm Danny Rocks. In today's lesson, I'm going to show you how you can prevent duplicate entries from creeping into your Excel worksheets by using data validation. All right, let me show you how this works. Let's switch over here to a worksheet that contains invoice numbers for customers. I want to ensure that I do not have any duplicates for the invoice number. That could be a disaster when it comes time to make an adjustment or process a return for a customer. So we're going to use data validation by creating a formula. Data validation, and on the settings tab from the drop down allow, we're going to select custom and then write a formula. But not just any old formula, it must be a logical formula. A logical formula returns either true or false. So we're going to use the COUNTIF function, but the COUNTIF function with a twist. Let me show you. Let's come back over here, and in this cell I have created the COUNTIF function. Now let's see how this works. Let's open up the function arguments dialog box by clicking the function wizard. So the COUNTIF function will count the number of cells within a range that meet the given condition. So it's going to count the number of cells within the range. Notice that the range that it's going to be looking in is the range of cells that already contain invoice numbers. So within that range, we want to find the cells that meet a given condition. So our criteria will be, is it a unique invoice number? So we begin, because we're going to copy this down, by saying the criteria begins here with the first cell, A2, that contains an invoice number. So notice that it gives me the number 1. Now notice what will happen if I trick this into becoming a duplicate. 5306 over here turns into 2. So it's no longer a unique value. But remember that what we need, if we're going to use data validation, we must get an answer which is either true or false. So in this case, what we have to do is we have to use the COUNTIF function with a twist. Your gotcha step will be, after you use the COUNTIF function, put in equals 1. So to evaluate it, value if true, 1 is what we want as the result. All right, now let's put this into place with data validation. The first step in data validation is to select the cells that you want to apply data validation to. So here I'm selecting the cells that already contain invoices. Now if you're using Excel 2007, Excel 2010, go to the Data tab of the ribbon, and in Data Tools, choose Data Validation. It opens up a dialog box that contains 3 tabs. On the Settings tab in Allow, from the drop-down, choose Custom. When you choose Custom, it allows you to create a formula. So equals COUNTIF, left parentheses. I'm going to put a $sign in front of row 2 because I can see that eventually I'm going to have more invoices and I want this to be able to grow. So I want to freeze row 2, colon, and my last cell in my selected range is row 26. Now for my criteria, so I put comma, and I want to select the first cell that contains an invoice, A2. Close off the parentheses, and remember, your gotcha step is we must include equals 1. Alright, so there is my logical formula. Let's put in a message over here. Enter a unique invoice number. Now another important element over here is on the error alert. Notice that there are 3 styles. The only one that will prevent a duplicate entry is the stop style. So over here for the message, we'll put in here duplicate, enter a, alright, I did, I'm not going to worry about changing that. Enter a unique value. Okay, there you go. Alright, let's test this out. Notice over here the cells that I've applied data validation to, each has the message. Watch what happens if I deliberately try to enter in a duplicate, 5306. You see, I get that error alert message. So a duplicate, enter a unique value. So now I would have to enter in a unique value, 9999, let's say. All right, let's use Control Z to undo that. Now remember, I put data validation down through row 26. Now it's time to extend this. A great way that you can spot the cells that contain data validation is if you come over here to the Home tab of the ribbon, and over here in the editing group, if you choose from the menu, find and select Go To, and one of the Go To special options is cells that contain data validation. So here are the cells that contain data validation. What I can do is I can right mouse click and say copy, and then come down to the cells that I want to extend data validation to. And then I want to choose paste special. And in the dialog box, I want to choose validation. Click OK. So now you see how I've extended the data validation. If I try to put in or accidentally put in a duplicate number, data validation will not allow that. So if I try 9999, that's a unique value. That's okay. Now, what if we already have values in here and we come in and say, well, I want to put data validation into effect? I mean, it's obvious that I have several duplicate values in here. So I'll go back and I'll say, all right, I'm going to follow Danny's direction. Here's the procedure. I first select the cells I want to use for data validation. Come over to Data, and in Data Tools, choose Data Validation. And on the settings, from the drop down, custom, and then remember my formula was equals count if, left parentheses, and I'll put a $2 because I'm eventually going to extend it, colon A26, comma, my criteria is going to be the first cell that contains an invoice. Close it off, and my gotcha step, remember, is equals 1. Now, for right now, I'm not going to apply the message or the error alert. Click OK, and wow, nothing happens. Well, why didn't it remove those obvious duplicates in there? Here's what we do. If we're applying it to a range of cells that already contains duplicates, we can easily find those duplicates. Once again, in Excel 2007-2010, come over here to the Data tab of the ribbon, and from the drop-down for Data Validation, notice that we have a choice to circle Invalid Data. So now we have the cells that contain duplicates. And notice, of course, it includes both instances of the duplicates in there. So over here, if I change this to 5555, now that circle goes away. So I, of course, could go through and make each individual change, but if I'm interrupted and I want to clear those validations, come over here and choose Clear the Validation. Now, in Excel 2007-2010, on the Data tab, notice also that there is the opportunity to remove the duplicates. And this can be rather destructive. So what I recommend is that you make a copy of the cells before you delete them. Now, I'm going to go into that in greater detail in a subsequent lesson. And I'm also going to show you another way that you can spot duplicates by using conditional formatting. And in Excel 2007, Excel 2010, that really is a snap. If we apply conditional formatting, one of the great improvements beginning in Excel 2010 is that there is a menu selection to spot the duplicate values. Now, I'm going to show you exactly how that works, and I'm also going to extend that to show you how that works if you're using Excel 2003 or earlier. But that is for the next lesson. For right now, I've shown you how you can create a formula so that you can prevent duplicate values from entering into your data. Data validation, and from the drop-down menu for the allow, we want to make sure that we write a formula that will evaluate to true or false. I use the count if function. And then when we want to extend data validation, it's very easy to just copy and then paste special data validation. Well, what if you want to remove all the cells that contain data validation? Easy to spot them. Home tab of the ribbon over here in the editing group, from the menu find and select all of the cells that contain data validation. So you see they're all highlighted. Now that they're highlighted, come back here to the Data tab on the ribbon, and from the drop down next to Data Validation, choose Data Validation On the Settings tab, clear all. Click OK, and now the data validation has been removed. So there you see some great ways to make sure that you have data that has integrity. We want to prevent duplicates from creeping into your data source. And this is one of the tips that I offer on my DVD-ROM, the 50 Best Tips for Excel 2007. And I'll look for you in the next lesson.